The US State Department's Religious Freedom Report on India is out yet again. The yearly cycle of vilification continues. In its 2023 report, the US State Department has noted violent attacks on minority groups, especially Muslims and Christians, including killings, assaults, and vandalism of houses of worship. The report on international religious freedom, released on Wednesday, said that in 2023, senior officials continue to raise concerns about religious freedom issues and their Indian counterparts. India's Ministry of External Affairs, however, has strongly rebutted the US State Department's 2023 report on international religious freedom, describing it as deeply biased and lacking in true understanding of India's social dynamics. The report mentioned that there was a concerning increase in hate speech, anti-conversion laws, demolition of homes and places of worship of the minority groups in India. In response to this report, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randir Jaiswal has said, "We have noted the release by the US State Department of its report on international religious freedom for 2023. As in the past, the report is deeply biased, lacks an understanding of India's social fabric, and is visibly driven by vote bank considerations and a perspective look. We therefore reject it." In India's interest today, we tell you why the US State Department's International Religious Freedom Report is biased and what it missed about India's democratic, secular, and pluralistic culture. The very first, 25 members of India's parliament in the recently concluded general elections are from the Muslim minority in India. 20% of India's total population is of Muslims. But there are other minorities like the Sikh, Parsi, Christian, Jain, Buddhist, with far lesser numbers, but the US State Department highlights only propaganda around the minority Muslims in India. On the other hand, 3 separatist voices, out of them 2 imprisoned, contested the Indian general elections and won by huge margins. Engineer Rashid contested as an independent candidate from Baramulla in North Kashmir and defeated the former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah. The Khalistani radical Amritpal Singh contested from Khadur Sahib of Punjab and defeated Kulbir Singh Zira of the Congress Party by 2 lakh votes. Sarabjit Singh Khalsa, whose father Ben Singh gunned down former Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1984 in the aftermath of the Operation Blue Star in June that year, also won the Indian general elections. From Punjab, US State Department disregards importance given to the dissent in Indian democracy. The third point, India has given home to the Tibetan community in exile since last several decades, with freedom to worship and run their own government in exile. According to the 14th Dalai Lama, Tibetans became refugees in their own country. There is a lot of control in their own country, that is China. But here in India, Tibetans have freedom. Recently, a high-level US congressional delegation, including the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, met with the Dalai Lama at his Indian home in Dharamshala of Himachal Pradesh. A visit that was in fact criticized and condemned in advance by China's government, which considers the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader a separatist. US conveniently forgets the gesture by India, but uses the Tibetan spiritual leader and the Tibetan community in exile for its own foreign policy and strategic objectives. The fourth point, the report also forgets to highlight how anti-Semitism has increased drastically on US soil over the years. Nearly 2/3 of the American Jews feel less secure in the United States than they did a year ago. According to a new national survey by American Jewish Community, last year the number of anti-Semitic incidents outpaced the all-time high set in 2022 by 140%. Jewish civil rights advocacy group Anti-Defamation League has said more than 8,800 incidents of anti-Semitism have been tracked by the group, including that of harassment, vandalism, assault, in a dramatic increase from the nearly 3,700 cases reported in 2022. 82% of American adults say Muslims are subject to at least some discrimination on the US soil today, according to Pew Research Center survey conducted in March 2019, including a majority of 56% who say Muslims are discriminated against a lot. Among the US Muslims themselves, many say they have experienced specific instances of discrimination, including being treated with suspicion, singled out by airport security, or called offensive names according to a 2017 survey of Muslim Americans. Ever since the US surrendered before the Taliban in 2021, situation of Afghan civilians, especially the women, has drastically deteriorated. US has failed to help the Afghan girls who have been denied education. American leaders and negotiators have failed, in fact, and have been unable to stop the killings, torture, arrest, and human rights violations by Taliban against those civilians who were seen close to the West or the erstwhile democratic governments. You perhaps now have an idea how largely mistaken the US State Department's International Religious Freedom Report has been, not just now, but over the years. It's perhaps time for the United States to look inwards and introspect. India has been a pillar of democracy, secularism, and empathy. India, that is Bharat, believes in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. The world, and the West in fact in particular, needs to realize that the phase of arm twisting India through such actions and pressure tactics is far over. India believes in strategic autonomy and certainly won't surrender to such methods.